What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. So as you can tell by the title, Oregon has officially decriminalized all drugs, and I'm going to talk to you about why this is so important, why this is a huge step in the right direction, and why this is going to save lives. Now, if you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Jess. I'm a recovering addict who served time in prison, and my whole life story is crazy. Is in the description box down below. If you want to follow me on any other social media platform, TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, all of that is linked down below as well. But I'm super excited to be filming this video, so let's just go ahead and get started. Now, hold on. I know that this seems very radical, it seems extreme, decriminalizing drugs. Why would you do something like that? Why would you decriminalize, like people are gonna use more drugs now. It seems extreme, but I can promise you right now it's going to save lives. This is a huge win for those struggling with substance abuse disorder. This comes at the right time, at a time in our lives where we've all had a tough year, where 2020 has been a roller coaster of emotions and pain and loss of jobs, and the country as a whole is struggling. So to hear this news this morning, I mean, I can't even stop smiling. I'm so excited. So let me talk to you about why it's essential that we decriminalize all drugs and we take a look at what Portugal has done. Portugal has an amazing drug policy, but also Portugal's population is very small, so it does take a large country like our own, like America, if you're watching in America, it takes America a long time to change different policies because we're a huge nation. We're the third most populated country in the world behind China and India. So we have a large population. We are also the United States of America, so I'm hoping that other states will follow suit. But let's just talk about why this is important. So prisons were never built to treat or help those with substance abuse disorder. They're not equipped to handle that. They're not equipped to handle those with extreme mental health disorders. There are special needs units where people that are extremely special needs go and are housed there. They're called different things in different facilities, but essentially prisons are only meant to keep dangerous people out of society. And that's very important to us. There are people in prison that I never want to get out, that don't deserve to get out, that I would never want living next door to you or me. Prison is so important in that it keeps and houses dangerous people out of society. It's also important in a law-abiding society that we have that in place, right? Well, prison was not meant to treat substance abuse disorder. Prison is meant to punish. And when we take somebody that's struggling with substance abuse disorder, and I've said many times that the #1 pathway to addiction is trauma. When we take somebody that has lived a very difficult life, that has had some kind of trauma or abuse, and they've turned to substances, and they're ingesting that substance on their own, they're not dealing it, they're simply taking a substance for whatever reason, they're hurting, they're suffering, they're traumatized. You know, there's a million different reasons why a person would turn to drugs, right? There's a genetic predisposition for substance abuse disorder. Decision-making skills plays a role in that. Environmental factors. Addiction is a complex disease of the mind. Any quick Google search will tell you that. But when we take somebody that is struggling in that way and we further disconnect them from society, we have a huge problem on our hands. When we put them in prison, we punish them, we beat them, we neglect them. Sometimes they don't feed inmates. When they go through that and they are further traumatized, and there's many instances where an inmate would be traumatized, because the rates of PTSD in prison are sky high, as well as recidivism rates, meaning prison does not work. When we further hurt them, their substance abuse disorder is not treated, okay? So it is essential that we decriminalize drugs. Think about it this way. When something is made illegal, the demand skyrockets, the price skyrockets, and the war on drugs is a freaking joke. The war on drugs does not help. The war on drugs makes drug dealers rich. It is simple supply and demand. When the risk goes up, the reward goes up. When something's made illegal, the demand goes up, the cost goes up. And every prison I've ever seen, all the prisons I have friends at currently, prisons I've been to myself, all had drugs. All of them. Every single one of them. Every jail I've ever been to, there were drugs in jail. Essentially, that long tear was to let you know that prison does not work. We have plenty of scientific facts and data on that. So let's move on to Oregon. Let's talk about how important this is. Let's talk about how positive this is. And then I'll go on another tangent in a second because that's what I do best. So Oregon becomes first US state to decriminalize possession of hard drugs. And then the subtitle says Arizona, Montana, New Jersey, South Dakota voted to legalize recreational marijuana in nationwide push to relax on drugs. A nationwide push to relax drug laws scored significant victories on Tuesday as 4 states voted to legalize marijuana, and Oregon became the first state to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of hard drugs, meaning an addict struggling with substance abuse disorder that is ingesting that chemical for their own personal use will not go to jail for that. Voters in Arizona, Montana, New Jersey, and South Dakota passed a state ballot measures to legalize recreational cannabis use, major victories in movement to undo the harms of cannabis criminalization. And in Oregon, voters made history by passing the first state law in the US to decriminalize possession of hard drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and LSD. The measure, backed by criminal justice reform groups, is aimed at diverting people from jails and prisons by treating possession as citations and expanding access to treatment and recovery, which is the most important in this. Arizona measures legalizes possession up to an ounce of marijuana for adults set up by licensing systems of retail sales, which could start in March. The state already has medical marijuana dispensaries in operation. I want to talk specifically about Oregon. Not that that's all not great news, because it is. The Oregon Drug Initiative will allow people arrested with small amounts of hard drugs to avoid going to trial and possible jail time by paying a $100 fine and attending an active recovery treatment program. The treatment centers will be funded by revenues from legalized marijuana, which was approved in Oregon several years ago. Today's victory is a landmark declaration that the time has come to stop criminalizing people for drug use. Oregon voters also approved a measure making it the first state to legalize therapeutic use of psychedelic mushrooms, which is also massive, especially for somebody like me who studied psychology, and microdosing in clinical trials has done amazingly well. This is massive. So in Oregon, if you were arrested for possession of anything up to a certain amount, which I feel like is fair, it's a step in the right direction anyway, you will get a fine of $100 and you will be able to go to treatment. I get so emotional when I think about this because I've been to prison. I have seen the people broken and hurting and desperate and traumatized and beaten, and I know firsthand prison doesn't work when dealing with substance abuse and mental health issues. This is massive for so many more reasons than just the struggling addict. This takes a huge burden off prisons in Oregon because we have 2.5 million Americans in jails and prisons today, and over 1 million of those people are struggling with substance abuse disorder. So if we made this nationwide, we would ease up the restrictions. We would help people get into treatment. We would help treat substance abuse disorder. We would also make jobs in prisons a lot easier on the staff. Now, I've said many times that we need to pay our correctional officers better, but that's hard to do when we have tons of prisons and the need for correctional officers is so high and the population is so high and it's overcrowded and underfunded, and it is difficult to take care of people in a humane way when the funding is not there. But if we're housing less people in prison by half, if this went nationwide, we could reallocate funds to better treat those struggling, which means a healthier, happier population, which means that instead of punishing the broken and the struggling and the hurt, we are helping them find a pathway to sobriety and success. And this is the best news that I could have read this morning, and it's so needed right now. 2020 has been a hard year. I also would like to mention, just in case anyone is wondering, this wouldn't have been an option for me. Say I was arrested today for my past use. The state always saw me as a dealer first, which is fair. I deserve to go to prison. And make no mistake about this, I deserve to go to prison. I wasn't an everyday user. I contributed to other people's addictions. I was a drug dealer first. The state would see that first. I was a danger to society, and I 100% deserve to go to prison. I'm just very grateful that I was able to rise above my addiction, and I now have 9 years sober. But this is the change we need to see. This is going to save lives. This is going to help people. And I understand that this might seem extreme and it might seem radical, but if you want to see lasting, meaningful change, we need to start making huge leaps. You know, it's 2020 and the data is there, the science is there. We now know that prison doesn't work and substance abuse disorder needs to be treated, and I am just so proud of Oregon, and I hope and I pray that other states follow suit. My state went rec when it comes to marijuana in January of this year. LA is rec, Colorado is rec. That's important. Arizona, Montana, New Jersey, South Dakota voted to legalize it as well. The only qualm that I have with this is that it does not say in this article that these laws are made retroactive, which is so important in making laws. When something is made retroactive, it means that anyone in the state of Oregon that is currently housed for possession of drugs, they're not going to be able to get out. They're probably going to have to serve their sentence. Now that's a very difficult thing. There are still people serving time in prison for weed, and many states made it legalized and went recreational. So this is a huge victory. It's a huge step in the right direction for Oregon. I would have just liked to see that that law was made retroactive. You guys saw my good friend Adam and Ro talk about his sentencing structure and how they stacked his mandatory minimum sentencing. That is no longer legal, but they didn't make that retroactive. So Adam was not able to get out just because the law that he was sentenced under was illegal now. We had to find more creative ways to get Adam home, but essentially that is why these laws need to be made retroactive. Yes, it's amazing. It's going to change lives and save lives and get people the help that they need, but I am a little bit concerned for everyone that's still serving time in prison for these things. So I wish our lawmakers would take into consideration all the people currently housed for these things. But again, this is a massive win, and I am very curious to hear your thoughts on this. I know that it seems a little out there and it seems like, whoa, what are we gonna do? This seems like it's too much, but this is exactly what we need to happen. So what are your thoughts? What do you think about this? Do you think this is a good policy? Do you think it's going to change and save lives? Please remember to be kind in the comments, and I would love to hear your opinion, even if it differs with mine. But yeah, I'm very happy today. So I'm gonna end today's video here. As always, I love you guys. Stay safe, stay sober, whatever that looks like to you, because there's no wrong way to recover. And I'm so fucking proud of Oregon. And I'll see you guys in my next one.